Okay. Last week I was working on replica write and send a PR to collect the uh, comments. I'm posting the URL in the chat window, in the chat. And it seems we still need, before we move further, we still need to address we still need to support the lossless connection. And aside from it, I attend the meeting with Riddick and David Galloway and also Mark and Neha to discuss the next step to integrate performance testing into Jenkins. And I think we lay out the pros and cons of different approaches. And I think the next step is to allocate a machine dedicated for performance tests and then enable CBT to run with Jenkins. I will coordinate with Alfredo and David on this, and that's me. Riddick, how's it going?
I'm working on the CBT side, which is related to the meeting here Keith has mentioned. Here I'm planning. I'm doing two things in CBT right now. I'm integrating the performance monitoring with the EMU statistic gathering for CBT with PerfStat. However, in order to do that, I want to have a variant of CBT that is able to run locally without putting any dependency on network things like SSH, like PDSH. All that stuff CBT requires at the moment. And also I am educating some requirements for sudo. I've posted a link to the work in progress branch. Right now I'm able to run my local machine. I'm able to run CBT without SSH, without PDSH, with Rados bench against Crimson. I'm using existing cluster. I believe the same will be on the Jenkins node. Yes.
Actually, I got a question regarding to your approach to. I think the idea is to enable CPT to run without just on a single machine, right? But my concern is that to run this client side by side with the server could introduce some noise because it consumes the CPU cycles. If you
do we want to allocate more? Do we want to use a multi-node configuration for our Jenkins statistic? I'm something like OSD on one node, clients on the second one.
But I'm not sure it's viable. Is there any option
Me too,
for
because
us to assign, to constrain a client, the client instance to some given some CPU nodes? Is that possible?
Well, on those machines that we plan to put in Jenkins nodes, I believe we will have a plenty of CPU cores. It should be quite easy to just pin Rados benches to one set of CPUs and OSDs to different one.
Yeah, if we can do that, that will be whole easier, and that will be less noise introduced by the client. It won't compete with the reactor threads used by Crimson OSD.
But well, the changes I'm working right now are not the entire idea is just to strip the requirement of SSH. Is the ability to run CBT completely locally without any extra networking involved.
Yeah, I see.
Mostly Yep, it's just easier. It's just far easier to start developing that you don't need to install SSH, PDSH, all that unnecessary stuff that is okay required when you have a essentially required if you have a multi-node configuration, but in case of testing on one node, it's just an overkill.
I see.
And
My concern is Ognoio with your change. It's not relevant, but we need to take that. Probably we need to take that into consideration for the next step. Probably.
What is important for Crimson is integration with perpstat. Is gathering PMU statistics. I'm eradicating SSH before the sake of development. It's far easier. Second topic is that I'm doing some context switches. I'm getting back to the input factory buffer changes, reworking and further discussion with Avi after reading the kernel connection multiplexer. That's me.
Ronan.
Hi. Do you hear me, by the way? Okay. Well, I had 2 days to work on Crimson this week. What I'm doing is following Sam's comment from last week when we talked about what I proposed for the error handling. He suggested starting to work on authorization feedback, authorization results. So what I'm doing is going over authorization code, both in old and new and Crimson, both old OSD and Crimson, and trying to parse everything and see where I can push the new method, if it makes sense to push it into that code. I'm hoping I'm getting along. Next week, starting Sunday to Friday, I will be at Radek office, working using him as a help tool, direct help in trying to get this up as quickly as possible. See if it makes sense. That's what I managed this week.
Sam.
Still mostly working on SeaStor performance stuff, but trying to do reviews. Let me know if I've missed any.
Cool. And then Yixin?
Yeah, last week I'm working on this PR. I will paste it in the chat window. And I think this is a prerequisite to implement the lossless policy, because it addresses some issues to have better debugging and to have better debugging how handshake happens, and also addresses some issue of address exchange between messengers, because if we don't have correct address to reconnect, we will fail to do so in lossless policy. And I will continue to implement that in the following maybe weeks. But I think the first priority is to let Crimson OSD not fail because of some assertion errors. That's all.
Yes, I'm also running into some issues when talking to while testing my replica write, because two Crimson OSD are trying to talk to each other, and apparently neither of them supports lossless connection.
Yeah.
If you could offer and walk around, that would be appreciated, because it's
okay, yeah.
To me it's a kind of broker to me.
Yeah, I will do that first.
Thank you.
For some, yeah.
Regarding to my replica write, I'm actually I would like to discuss with you guys regarding to how we do parallel, how we can parallelize the operation how we can commit the how we can serve the read request in parallel. I'm posting the comment in the chat. Probably we can reach a conclusion with a short discussion, we can do it here. Otherwise, we can continue the discussion over the self-development mailing list. We can take a look at the comment by Redec, starting with to do, because
I mean, you could just count the number of outstanding requests, right?
Yes, that's
yeah. The point isn't
the broker.
Yeah, the point isn't to make it heavy. It's just so that we have some way of introspecting what's wrong. To the extent that it's useful, we should use it. To the extent that it's not, we shouldn't.
So we don't care about which replica OSD is blocking the.
I mean, if you think it's inefficient or comes at a cost, then no, not a lot, right? It depends. Like, if we think that's important, then it's worth the cost. If we don't, then it's not. I don't feel strongly about the way I did the blockers originally. Truly, my only goal is for us to have some basic way of debugging stuff that's stuck and getting like some ongoing information about what an OSD is doing.
Yeah.
But obviously, if we make the OSD slow, then that would be counterproductive.
I see. We can start with the number of the blocker. And
yeah, I think that may well be all we need.
Okay. I will come up with.
I mean, if not, it's like it's reads outstanding to the acting set, right? So it could be a vector of booleans.
Okay, cool.
Like it doesn't have to be heavy.
Next thing, to parallel the read request.
You want to combine them into a single message?
Not really. We can, we could combine. We could have a lot of read request and write request in a single operation, right? In a single message, and we can parallelize them because the read request could be targeting to different objects.
In an MOSD op? No, they can't.
Yes, and in MOSD op.
I thought all the reads in an MOSD op have to be to the same object.
Okay. So it doesn't make sense.
Right?
I think so.
I don't even think you can read from different snapshots.
No.
Of the same object. I think it has to be.
Okay. So given MOSD op should be targeting to a single object. So it doesn't make sense to parallelize the read request embodied in a single MOSD op.
Oh, I see. You want to throw off one continuation per logical read, so that the underlying store maybe gets a little bit of queue depth to the read.
Yeah.
Workload. Is that right?
Yeah.
My instinct is that RBD never does that.
Okay. So we have.
My instinct is that MOSD op almost always has one op in it.
Ah.
Okay.
I see.
Almost always. It's a little different for writes because you often need to do more than one thing atomically. I could be lying though. If there are ever two reads, I'm gonna guess that it's not like two reads to the data payload. It's like an OMAP read and a regular read. Or it's like a I know RGW likes to send metadata atomic checks and then do the read, but it doesn't even send those back. So you couldn't parallelize that anyway because you need to know the answer to the first one before you send the second one. Like it's got these transaction IDs, so it can tell if there's a concurrent modifier that it doesn't know about that will bail out of the read early. That could have changed the last couple of years though, so that's worth checking on. But my guess is that RBD does not send compound ops when it's doing reads.
I see. Okay. But RGW could send a compound read in a single operation, but we need to.
Conceivably, but the other
Probably,
reason I'm
yeah.
not sure it's worthwhile is that it would add overhead. And for the most part, by the time we've bothered to read an object, it's going to be in cache. So those things aren't going to block anyway. Now, one thing that would make sense is if we think the op is going to cause us to read a particular object, it might make sense to tell the store before we really get into the processing phase of the op, please go warm your cache up. That I think actually would be make sense. Like go read the metadata for this object for me, please, or something. Whatever makes sense to the underlying store. That makes a little. You see what I mean?
I see. Just
What
what it means to read the object info before.
For instance,
to parallelize yeah. That's what we always do.
Well, actually, we wait until we need it to read it. I'm saying it could, like, later on when if we really want to get cute with making sure that we overlap the like op processing and the IO, before we even process the op, we could tell the store ahead of time, if you have an object by this name, please load it into cache, even if we're not processing. Like before it even gets to the PGQ. Or whatever, PG pipeline stage, what have you. But no, my guess is we don't actually want to fork off one read for every op in an OSD op, at least not yet.
No, I sent a mail to them, civil dev list to continue the discussion. And the one thing we can be sure is that RBD does not do compounded read, so it doesn't make sense to parallelize the read in a single M object, OSD op.
Well, listen, it would be worth checking with someone who knows better, but I think that's right.
Okay. I see. And that's all I have. Any questions? Okay. See you next week. Have a good day and have a good night.
Wait, I'm here.
Wait, Chunmi.
Oh, Chunmi.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed you. How's it going?
I'm a little late, 4 minutes late. Sorry. So finally, I can build the BlueStar into the Crimson OS with the Crimson. And I have to add, because in the Crimson Common and Crimson OSD, it will, with the macro definition with SeaStor. And in the Crimson OS, in the BlueStar, I have to build the originally set code. So I add a new macro definition with Alien. So they will go different code branch. And for some common files in Crimson Common and in Crimson OS, they have the same common file, and but they go different macro definition. So they will tell the multiple definition. So I add some namespace to that the code existing together, the same function existing together. I'm not sure if you have the better idea to build the BlueStar into the Crimson OS, but that is what I did now. So I pasted my tree here. So this can be built with BlueStar into the Crimson OS, but I didn't. The Alien Star interface is empty now. So next step, I will implement the Alien interface. Will call from the SeaStor thread to the BlueStar thread. So I have to modify many files to. Yeah.
How do you address the problem of the symbol confliction? Because we have two set of symbols. One is what the common is expecting. Another is Crimson Common expecting, and now we have the third set of them, which is expected by Crimson. Sorry, the alien BlueStar. How do you address
so for the Crimson Common, I add for the confliction files, I add the namespace Ceph common. So in that space, they will build that namespace, and in the alien will build the same as the Ceph namespace. So I use the namespace to identify the same function.
So we'll have Ceph context in two different layers. That will in two different places in the hierarchy.
So before we use some macro definition with SeaStor to identify which code branch going to the Crimson, which code going to the Ceph, original Ceph. But currently we want to run the BlueStar in the traditional Ceph thread, and the SeaStor thread will talk to the traditional Ceph thread. So we have to build the BlueStar into the Crimson OS, but it's running in the just like the existing Ceph. So the code should be built, the two branch should be in the same binary. So that's the problem. So there are many build error, and I just do something to fix that build error. So if you have time, please take a look at my source tree, and currently that tree can be built. And so if you have a better idea, because I have to modify many files to fix the confliction, either some if define or if not define, something like that. So if you have better ideas, please let me know.
So I will take a look at it, and I don't think I have a better idea to address the simple confliction other than putting them in different naming spaces. I think it's a very smart idea.
Yeah, when I add the namespace, I have to modify many files because there are so common, so many common files they used in Crimson and BlueStar.
I'll take a look. So, probably we can simplify it using some macro.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Next time I will implement the alien star interface to call the BlueStar in the alien.
Yeah. So, any questions? See you next week. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
See you guys.
See you. Bye.